My phone started buzzing at 6:12 a.m., the kind of buzzing that doesn't feel like good morning and more like you forgot to pay the electric bill and the house is on fire. One text, then another, then the little typing bubble that might as well have been a siren. Lauren, are you serious? Lauren, Jake, pick up. Lauren, I can't log into anything. Lauren, my deck is locked. My music won't play. My meeting link won't open. Lauren, I go live in an hour. I just lay there staring at the ceiling fan like it had answers. The fan didn't. The fan never does. Here's the thing. I wasn't waking up to drama anymore. Not really. Not since Lauren left quietly. No screaming, no plates, no Hollywood tears. She just zipped her carry-on, slid her key on the counter like a check at a diner, and tossed one last line over her shoulder. We're adults. We'll figure it out. That was it. Door clicked. End scene. So when my phone melted down weeks later, it wasn't because she missed me. It was because she missed my subscriptions. And if you're sitting there thinking, come on, Jake, how bad can it get? Just keep listening. Because the part where a grown woman tries to speedrun remorse through a broken login screen, that's where it gets interesting. I didn't answer right away. Not out of spite. Not because I wanted to watch the world burn. I didn't feel that way. What I felt was new. Quiet. Like the first time you turn off a noisy appliance and realize your kitchen has been loud for years. I rolled out of bed, walked into my little kitchen apartment in Indianapolis, and did what I always do. Coffee first, brain second. The phone kept buzzing on the counter, face down, like it was embarrassed. I poured coffee, took a sip, and finally flipped the phone over. 10 missed calls. A pile of texts. A voicemail that probably had her breathing into the mic like a hostage negotiator. And I could have ended it right there. One tap. One sure, here you go. I could have saved her. But for the first time in a long time, I wasn't on call for Lauren's life anymore. Let me back up because none of this makes sense unless you understand the kind of relationship we had. We weren't some tragic love story. We were more like one of those home improvement shows where the host keeps saying it has good bones while the house is actively sinking into the swamp. Lauren and I met at a friend's birthday thing. One of those half-planned gatherings where someone grills burgers, someone plays music too loud, and everyone pretends they're not checking work email. She looked like she had her life organized into color-coded folders. Even her laugh sounded efficient. You're Jake, right? She asked, holding out a cup like we were shaking hands at a conference. Depends, I said. Are we talking about regular Jake, or Jake who accidentally bought almond milk Jake? She smiled, but it wasn't warm. It was assessing. I like that you're funny, she said, like she was reading it off a menu. At the time, that felt like a compliment. Later, it felt like a job description. We moved in together after about a year. Normal timeline, normal fights, socks on the floor, dishes in the sink, whose turn to buy paper towels. Stuff you can fix with a deep breath and a Costco run. Then her work got bigger. Not busy, but consumed. Lauren worked in marketing, presentations, client calls, campaigns, the whole world where everything is urgent and high visibility, and let's circle back. She talked about her career like it was a living thing that needed feeding every day. I have to be sharp, she'd say. I can't look average. Average is death. Average is also most people, I'd say, including the guy delivering our takeout. She'd roll her eyes. You don't get it. That phrase became a regular item in our home, like salt. And I'll be honest, I didn't get it first. I thought ambition was good. I still do. But there's ambition, and then there's this constant pressure to perform like your living room is an audience. Every day came with a review. If I sat down after work, she'd glance at me like I was wasting oxygen. You're just going to watch that? She'd ask, pointing at the TV like it was a crime scene. Yeah, I'd say. It's Wednesday. I'm tired. The couch and I have a long-term commitment. You could be doing something, she'd say. And every time she said something, it meant her version of life. Her goals, her schedule, her pace. It wasn't that she wanted to be successful. It was that she needed everyone around her to orbit that success, like we were all little moons. And I played along for longer than I should have. One of the ways I played along was money stuff. Not in a dramatic way, just convenience. I'm an IT guy, not Silicon Valley money. Just solid, stable, pay my bills and buy good coffee money. I'm a kind of guy who likes systems that work. So when we moved in, I set up all the household subscriptions like a normal adult who thinks he's being helpful. Music streaming? Under my account. Movies? Me. Cloud storage? Me. Professional software? Also me, because I actually used it sometimes for side projects, and Lauren used it for her work decks. Family access, share devices, save passwords. I made everything smooth. Lauren loved smooth. Smooth meant she didn't have to think about it. She'd lean over my shoulder while I was setting something up and go, "Can you just add me? I have a call in 5. Yeah, I'd say, "I'll add you." And she'd walk away before I even finished clicking invite. That was kind of our rhythm. So when she left quietly and cleanly, it didn't immediately occur to me that she left everything behind in a digital sense. The first week after the breakup was weirdly calm. Too calm. Like the air still didn't know it was allowed to move. I went to work. I came home. I ate dinner standing up sometimes because sitting at our table felt like sitting in a museum exhibit called What Happened Here. My buddy Dave called me the second night. Dave's the kind of friend who doesn't do soft emotional check-ins. He does blunt concern disguised as jokes. "So," he said, "you alive?" "Mostly." "That's a strong start. You got food." "I have cereal." "Jake," he sighed, "cereal is not food. Cereal is an apology." "I have milk." "Okay, you're thriving." I laughed, and it was the first time it didn't feel forced. Then Dave got serious in his Dave way. "You okay, though?" "Like for real." "I'm fine," I said automatically. He paused. That's what people say right before they buy a treadmill and never use it. "I'm not buying a treadmill." "You say that now." I stared at the empty spot in the living room where Lauren's yoga mat used to be. The floor looked bigger. "I'm just quiet," I said. "Quiet is good," Dave said. "Quiet means you can hear yourself think." I didn't answer because he was right, and I hated that he was right. A couple weeks went by. I started settling into the new routine. I stopped checking my phone every time it buzzed, expecting her name. Then one night, I was microwaving leftovers, and my TV popped up one of those little alerts. New device signed in. At first, I thought it was me. I got a laptop, a work laptop, a tablet I pretend I'll use more, and my phone. I sign into things all the time. But then I looked at the location notice. Not my apartment. Not my office. It was a spot across town. I blinked. The microwave beeped like it was offended I wasn't paying attention. I pulled up the account settings. There it was, Lauren's iPad. I actually laughed. Just a short, dry sound. Because her iPad didn't move out. It just migrated. And that's when the funny details started. Music, still being played. Movies, watched at odd hours. Cloud storage, uploads happening. The professional software, active sessions like it was clocking in. It was like a ghost was living in my accounts. I told myself it didn't matter. It was a few dollars. And part of me, some leftover part that was trained to keep things running, said, "Let it go. Don't start anything." So I did, at first. Then the little things started adding up. Like the time I got an email, "Your storage is almost full." That was weird because I'm boring. My files are mostly tax documents and photos of my niece doing weird faces. So I log in, dig around, and there's a folder with a name like final_final_for seriously_final. I stared at it like it was a raccoon in my kitchen. She'd been dumping work files into my storage, not even trying to hide it. I texted Dave. Me, guess who's still living in my subscriptions? Dave, a raccoon. Me, worse. Lauren. Dave, oh. Yeah, I'd rather have a raccoon. At least raccoons are honest. I didn't respond right away. I just sat there on my couch, laptop open, watching her files multiply. The old Jake would have sent a message like, "Hey, can you stop?" The old Jake would have started a discussion. The old Jake would have made a little spreadsheet of fairness. But I didn't want a discussion. I wanted the quiet to stay quiet. So I ignored it. Again. A few days later, I ran into my neighbor, Mr. Reynolds, in the hallway. Mr. Reynolds is retired and has the exact energy of a man who has opinions about everything and time to share them. He looked at me, nodded, and said, "You're looking lighter." "Thanks," I said. "I've been sleeping more." He grunted like sleep was suspicious activity. "Where's your girlfriend?" he asked, because of course he did. "She moved out." He paused and said, "Good." I laughed. That's direct. Mr. Reynolds leaned on the railing like he was about to deliver a sermon. She always walked like she was late to criticize somebody. I almost choked. That's a sentence. He pointed at my door. Now you got peace. Don't rent it out for free. Then he shuffled away, leaving me standing there like I'd just been hit with wisdom from a guy in gym shorts. Don't rent it out for free. That line stuck, because that's exactly what I was doing, letting her keep the benefits of my life while she enjoyed the freedom of leaving it. And I kept telling myself it was maturity. But if I'm honest, it wasn't maturity. It was habit. The real turning point wasn't anger. It wasn't some dramatic moment where I saw her in public holding hands with someone else or anything like that. It was a calendar notification. I was checking my schedule one evening because I had a dentist appointment and a work meeting, and I saw something on my shared calendar. Lauren's old reminders were still there because we used to share everything for planning. And there it was, sitting in my calendar like a little digital landmine. Big presentation, go live, 9 a.m., don't mess this up. The date was the next morning. I stared at it for a full minute. It brought back all these memories of her practicing in our living room, pacing with her laptop, saying lines out loud like she was auditioning for a role. Does this sound confident? She'd ask. It sounds like you're about to sell me a car, I'd answer. Jake, she'd snap. Be serious. I'm serious. You're going to sell them a car. A very expensive car. She'd glare, but she'd keep practicing. Hours of it. And during those hours, I was supposed to be silent. No TV, no dishes, no walking too loudly. Her focus demanded a quiet house, like it was a luxury service. And now, she wasn't living here anymore, but the demand was still in my calendar. That's when something clicked. Not rage. Not some movie villain plan. Just clarity. If you leave, you leave. You don't keep a free membership to someone's resources and still expect them to function as your support system. I looked at the list of services she still had access to. It was a lot. Music, movies, cloud storage, the professional software, the meeting tools. I could practically hear Dave in my head. Raccoon. So I opened my password manager and started changing things. One by one. Not with dramatic music playing. Just me in sweatpants, sipping coffee that had gone cold, clicking update password. The screen asked, sign out of all devices? And I clicked yes. Then I turned off family access. Then I removed shared storage. It took maybe 15 minutes. 15 minutes to undo 2 years of being helpful. When I was done, it was quiet again. I sat back, stared at my laptop, and laughed softly to myself. Okay, I said out loud to no one. We're adults. We figured it out. Then I went to bed, and I slept like I'd finally shut a door that had been slamming in the wind for months. The next morning, the phone started buzzing at 6:12. By 6:30, I had enough messages to qualify as a small novel. I got up, showered, got dressed, and did my regular work routine like a guy who wasn't holding a digital grenade. On the drive to the office, I kept the phone in the cup holder, face down. My car is a 2015 Ford Fusion with a radio that occasionally forgets how to connect to Bluetooth, so silence happens whether you want it or not. That morning, silence was perfect. At a red light, the phone buzzed again and slid slightly on the plastic. I didn't touch it, because here's what I learned in that moment. I used to treat her urgency like it was automatically my emergency. And it wasn't. I got to work, walked in with my coffee, and my coworker Tasha looked up from her desk. Tasha is one of those people who can read your life on your face. You look calm, she said, suspicious. Yeah, I said. I slept. She narrowed her eyes. Did you sleep? Or did you do something you're not supposed to do and sleep anyway? I laughed. That's oddly specific. Tasha leaned back. Jake, I've been here 5 years. I can smell something happened from the parking lot. I sat at my desk, logged in, and tried to focus. The phone buzzed again. Tasha pointed at it. That's her, isn't it? I didn't even deny it. Yeah. Are you going to answer? In a minute. Tasha nodded slowly like a judge. Okay, just remember, if you answer while she's on fire, she learns that setting fires works. I stared at her. That's dark. She shrugged. I'm cheerful. I'm also correct. That was the thing about my friends and coworkers. They didn't hate Lauren. They just didn't miss her. At 8:15, I finally listened to the voicemail. Lauren's voice came through, tight and rushed. Jake, please. I don't know what you did, but I can't get into anything. My files are locked. My presentation is in less than an hour. This is not funny. Call me back. It wasn't funny. Not really. But it also wasn't my job. A few minutes later, another voicemail. This one sounded different. Still stressed, but the edge had softened. Okay, look, I need access. Just for today. I'll figure out the rest later. Please. Then a third voicemail. And this one had something new in it. Jake, I didn't think about it. I didn't. I thought the accounts were just there. I'm sorry. I really need this today. I leaned back in my chair and stared at my monitor. There it was. The shift. Not because she suddenly became a different person, but because she ran into a wall she didn't expect. Consequences. And I didn't feel triumphant. That's not what it was. I felt relieved. Like someone finally stopped assuming I'd always be there to patch the holes. I picked up the phone and called her back. It rang twice, and she answered like she'd been holding it in her hand the whole time. Jake, morning, I said. Oh my God, thank God. What did you do? Nothing works. My deck is locked, my music, my everything. I can't even get into the meeting tool. I have people waiting. This is serious. I know it's serious, I said, calm. She exhaled hard. Then fix it. That old command tone. Like I was tech support. I didn't snap. I didn't argue. I just let the silence sit for a second. Then I said, Lauren, you moved out. I know that, she said quickly. That's not the point. It is the point, I said. You left. But you kept the key to my wallet. It's not your wallet, she said, and then stopped herself because even she heard how that sounded. It is, I said. I pay for it. I didn't mean Jake, I didn't think it mattered. It's a few subscriptions. Don't do this right now. Right now is exactly what matters, I said. Her voice dropped. You waited until today. I didn't deny it. I saw it on the calendar. She paused. You still have my calendar stuff? Yeah, I said. Because we shared it. Remember? For planning. She made a small sound like she wanted to argue, but didn't have the energy. Jake, she said, slower now. I have a room full of people waiting online. My boss is on it. This presentation, it's a big deal. I know, I said. I remember how you used to practice. How the whole apartment had to hold its breath. That's not fair, she said. I almost laughed. Almost. Lauren, I said, you told me we're adults and we'll figure it out. I figured it out. Silence again. Then her voice came out smaller. So what? You just gonna let me fail? That was the moment. The exact moment she reached for the old lever. Guilt. And I didn't yell. I didn't insult her. I didn't do any of that. I just said, I'm not letting you do anything. I'm just not holding it up anymore. She breathed in, shaky. I didn't realize you were going to be like this. Like what? Cold, she said. I stared out the office window at the parking lot. Lauren, I said, you left. Quietly. No drama, remember? You didn't ask how I'd be. You didn't ask what you'd still be using. You just walked out and assumed the floor would keep moving under you. Another pause. Then she said, I didn't think it was like that. Well, I said it is. Her voice cracked, not crying, just strained. Okay, she whispered. Okay, I get it. I do. But please, I need access for this morning. I'll fix everything after. I'll pay you back. I let her talk. Let her scramble. Let her try every option. And then I said, no. Not loud. Not mean. Just a clean no. She went silent like I'd hit mute. Then, Jake, are you serious? Yeah, I said. You're really doing this? Yeah. What am I supposed to do? You're smart, I said. You'll figure it out. She made a small sound, frustration, panic, disbelief. I don't have time to figure it out, she snapped. And I felt that old pull, the reflex to rescue. I didn't follow it. Instead, I asked, why didn't you set up your own accounts? Silence. Lauren, her voice came back, quieter. Because it was easier when we were together. There it was. The honest sentence. And I didn't rub it in. I didn't go, exactly, like some smug teacher. I just said, we're not together. Another long pause. Then she said, I didn't think it was that unfair. I kept my voice even. It was. She swallowed, and her tone changed. The fight drained out. I'm sorry, she said. I really am. I didn't think about it. I was selfish. I was. And now I'm paying for it. I didn't celebrate. I didn't gloat. I just breathed. Okay, I said. I hear you. So, that's it? She asked like she couldn't believe the door was actually closed. That's it, I said. She was quiet, then asked small, do you hate me? That question almost made me laugh. Not because it was funny, but because it was classic Lauren, jumping straight to the dramatic summary when the real issue was practical. No, I said. I don't hate you. I'm just done being the safety net you don't notice until you fall. She whispered, okay. And for a second, I thought she might hang up. Instead, she said, I really did mess up. Yeah, I said. You did. Then I ended the call, and my hand didn't shake. My chest didn't tighten. Nothing collapsed. It was just finished. I expected more chaos after that. More messages. More anger. There were a few. Lauren, I can't believe you. Lauren, I hope you're happy. Lauren, this was cruel. Then, an hour later, Lauren, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that. Lauren, I'm embarrassed. Lauren, I figured something out. It was rough. Lauren, I didn't realize how much you handled. That last line hit harder than the first 10 because she finally said it. How much you handled, not loved, not how much you meant. Handled, like I was the backstage crew of her life. That evening, Dave came over with takeout because Dave's love language is food and showing up without asking. He walked in, looked around the apartment, and nodded. Still standing, he said, yeah, I said. He held up a bag. I brought real food. None of that cereal nonsense. We sat on the couch, ate, and I told him the whole thing. Well, I got to the part about the presentation and the passwords. Dave leaned back and whistled. Jake, he said, that's bold. It wasn't supposed to be, I said. It just happened. Uh-huh, Dave said, chewing. Sure. And I accidentally watched 3 seasons of a show in a weekend. I stared at him. Was it 3 seasons? He shrugged. Don't change the subject. I didn't plan it like a cartoon villain, I said. I just saw the reminder and thought, why am I still paying rent in her life? Dave nodded slowly. Because you're decent. Or because I'm trained, I said. He pointed at me with a fork. That's the sentence. I leaned back. She apologized. Dave raised an eyebrow. A real one. Pretty close, I said. At least she admitted it was unfair. Dave took a sip of soda. Okay, but listen, this is the important part. Do not let pretty close turn into come fix my life again. I'm not, I said. Dave smirked. Good, because if you do, I'm taking your phone and replacing it with a flip phone. I laughed. You wouldn't. Try me, he said. The next few weeks were better. Not in some cheesy, I found myself way. Just in the practical way life gets better when someone stops pulling you into their chaos. I started going to the gym again. Not because I was trying to prove anything, but because I had time. Actual time. Not time that got interrupted by, can you help me real quick? I cooked more. Simple stuff. Chicken, rice, vegetables. The kind of food that doesn't need emotional support. I started sleeping like a normal person. And at work, something happened that I didn't expect. My boss pulled me aside one afternoon. Jake, he said, you've been sharper lately. I blinked. Thanks. He nodded. Whatever changed, keep it. I didn't tell him. Oh, I stopped being a human spare battery for someone who kept draining me. Because that's not office conversation. I just said, yeah, we'll do. But inside I thought, so that's what it feels like when your energy stays yours. Lauren didn't disappear completely, of course. A couple weeks after the presentation disaster, she sent a message that wasn't urgent. Lauren, can we talk? Not about accounts. Just talk. I stared at it for a long time. Old Jake would have replied immediately. Old Jake would have tried to smooth everything out, even if it hurt him. I didn't want to be cruel. I also didn't want to reopen the door. So I kept it simple. Me, what do you need to talk about? She didn't answer for hours. Then, Lauren, I didn't realize what I was doing. Lauren, I thought leaving would make me feel free. Lauren, but it feels like I cut off something important. Lauren, that one was different. That one wasn't about convenience. Still, I didn't jump. I replied, me, I'm glad you see it. But I'm not going back. A minute later, Lauren, I know. Lauren, I didn't expect you to actually stop. Lauren, I thought you'd always be there. That sentence was almost funny in a sad way because it was so honest. I typed back, me, that's the problem. She didn't reply. A few days later, I ran into Mr. Reynolds again. He was checking his mail like it was a competition. He glanced at me and said, "Quiet still." "Yeah," I said. He nodded like a man approving a new fence. "Good," he said. "Peace is expensive. Don't give it away." Then he walked off, and I realized something. It wasn't about subscriptions. Not really. The subscriptions were just the receipt. The real thing was that I'd finally stopped being available by default. About a month after the big presentation morning, Lauren showed up at my apartment. No warning, just a knock. I opened the door, and there she was, hair pulled back, eyes tired, holding a small box. Not dramatic, just worn down. "Hey," she said. "Hey," I said. I didn't step aside. She held up the box. "I brought some of your stuff. I found it in my car." I glanced at it. "Okay, I'm not here to fight," she said quickly. "I'm not. Can we talk for 2 minutes?" I hesitated, then stepped into the hallway and pulled the door mostly closed behind me. Not to be rude, just to keep boundaries physical and not theoretical. 2 minutes, I said. She nodded like she'd accept any deal. "I've been thinking a lot," she said, and I realized something. I waited. She swallowed. "I treated you like you were part of my setup, like you were just there to make things easier." I didn't interrupt. Let her do it properly. She looked down at her hands. "When you changed the passwords, it wasn't the inconvenience that hurt. It was the shock, because it made me realize you could stop. You could actually stop, and I wouldn't have a way to force it." I raised an eyebrow. "Yeah." She nodded, eyes glossy but controlled. I hate that it took that for me to see it. I didn't soften. Not because I was trying to punish her, but because softening would have been misread as permission. "So what are you asking?" I said. She flinched at the directness, then said, "I don't know. I wanted to say I'm sorry in person, and I wanted to tell you I miss you." I let that sit. Then I asked, "Do you miss me, or do you miss having someone who always catches you before you fall?" She winced, like I'd hit the exact spot. "I miss you," she said, but her voice wasn't as confident as she wanted it to be. I nodded slowly. "I believe you." "A little." Her eyes lifted. "A little." "Yeah," I said. "Because missing someone doesn't undo how you treated them. It just means you notice the absence now." She looked like she wanted to argue, but she didn't have a clean argument. "So that's it," she said quietly. "That's it," I said. She nodded, and for a second she looked like she might cry, but she didn't. She just exhaled. "I really lost something," she whispered. "You did," I said. "And I'm not saying that to hurt you. I'm saying it because it's true." She hugged the box tighter to her chest like it was a life raft. "I hope you're doing okay," she said. "I am," I said. I didn't realize how not okay I was until it stopped. She nodded, defeated but aware. Then she said something that I didn't expect. "I told my mom about the passwords." I blinked. "Why?" She gave a tired laugh. "Because she asked why I looked like I hadn't slept in a week." And I asked. Lauren looked embarrassed. She said, "So you left him, but you kept using his stuff?" "Smart woman," I said. Lauren nodded. She said, "Honey, you don't get to move out and keep the benefits like it's some kind of rewards program." I almost smiled. "That's pretty accurate." Lauren looked at me, eyes serious. She said I was going to realize I didn't lose subscriptions. I lost a person. I didn't say anything. I didn't need to. Lauren swallowed and said she was right. Then she stepped back. "I'll go," she said. "Okay," I said. She turned, walked down the hallway, and didn't look back. And the crazy part? It didn't feel like winning a fight. It felt like finishing a sentence. People ask me sometimes because when you tell a story like this, someone always turns it into a lesson. They ask, "Do you regret changing the passwords?" No, not because it was some genius move. Not because I enjoyed her panic. That part wasn't the point. The point was this. She left, and I finally accepted it fully. Not just emotionally, practically. I stopped letting her have access to the parts of my life she didn't earn anymore. And that's what changed everything. Because once you stop being the always available guy, you start becoming the guy who actually has a life again. My apartment got quieter. My brain got quieter. My weekends felt longer. My shoulders felt lighter. Not from some poetic release, but because I wasn't bracing for the next urgent request. And Lauren? She learned something the hard way. The kind of lesson you only learn when the free ride ends. She didn't lose music. She didn't lose movies. She didn't lose software. She lost the person who kept her world running while she sprinted ahead without looking back. And it's funny, dark funny, not cute funny, that it took a password screen to make her finally see me. But that's life, I guess. Sometimes the biggest relationship conversation isn't a speech. Sometimes it's just a quiet click on sign out of all devices. And then, for the first time, you go to sleep without feeling responsible for someone who already chose to leave.